I think there is a large part of destiny in this entire game. You can do anything if you can communicate your ideas well. But I don't have like a physical workplace where I call people over. But with AI coming in, like it changed everything.
All right, so welcome everyone to today's yet very interesting session on success talks. And I know that you've all been waiting for this very interesting session. We have somebody who is absolutely a pro from the digital marketing space, has been a part of the Digital Masters Conference for long. And of course, he's none other than Gaurav Gurbaxani that you have always been hearing about. Today, he establishes himself as an AI expert, and we're going to find out many more details about that. But primarily, he comes from the space of being in the industry as a digital marketing evangelist. And we really want to find out, that what is it that has really set this journey for him rolling, that he's been able to create so many milestones. So at the onset, first of all, welcoming you, Gaurav. Thank you so much, for being a part of this series.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopika. Really excited about today's success talks. And I'm going to do my best in sharing whatever I can and make it as enjoyable, as entertaining as possible.
We can always just be able to, give it only our best. And I think that is more than enough in terms of giving it our best. So let's get started with understanding that, I'm going to pick up something very interesting that I have an understanding about your profile. So most of us do something very different during our graduation. And then we end up doing something very different altogether. And that's where I'm going to highlight a fact that, as a part of your educational qualifications, you have qualified in hotel management, correct?
That is correct.
Right. And that is something that is completely different into the space that you are today. So, just the first very important, interesting, area of question. How did you realize that you wanted to pivot towards digital marketing, and that too as early as 2007?
Sure, super question. And this is one of my most favorite question. And the reality of it is I actually started my digital marketing career, my make money online on the internet way before hotel management.
Okay.
I actually got my first paycheck when I was 14 years old. And I was hooked to the internet. Fortunately or unfortunately, my dad told me that you need to get a college degree, which I didn't believe back then and I don't believe right now. But I trusted his advice and studied for 3 years, got a job, almost got fired in the first or second week, and realized that I was just not cut out for hotel management or not cut out for anything physical. Like I've always been a guy behind the computer screen is where I feel I've got my most superpowers, and that's how I kind of spend most of my hours these days as well. And it was just like an innate love towards the internet. I was fortunate enough that my dad, he had a computer store. So the privilege of him having a computer store was that we would always have like the latest machine in the house. And we were one of the first few families, at least in Pune, to get the internet.
So
And
that's where it's coming from. You always had the latest to work upon.
I would definitely say so. I definitely think that it was a huge advantage. And now with my kids as well, one thing I want to make sure that they have is the latest tech. They're anyway digital natives, and it's been like one advantage. And I think I made the most out of that advantage of kind of being an early adopter back in the day.
Lovely. So, that's so interesting to hear. And I always say we owe it to our parents, to the person that we become today. And that's the role that they have played in your life as well, as much as I can understand, being introduced and exposed to the best tech, which isn't easy because it also means, of course, investment, having said at the same time, but also a lot of interest and the exposure right in your own vicinity, which is your own house to start working with. So I'm very sure that that's really, what kept creeping up as a small little, we call that as a tadpole, which actually grew up. And that's the kind of a work that we are able to see from you today. So that's one chapter of it. But, so you realize that this wasn't meant out for you. But before we really jump into that, you did digital marketing. How were you able to zero down onto the fact that this is the space that I'm going to be venturing out into myself? So 2005, you finished your graduation. 2007, you had started your own consulting, and
Yes.
you made it grow that startup into a multi-million dollar setup. And today, I mean, till 2023, I know that it was working extremely, extremely well. So I mean, as soon as that, and you were extremely young, how were you able to zero down on that?
I think there is a large part of destiny in this entire game. And, coming back to the early edge or being an early adopter, ever since we got the first computer, I always knew just a little bit more than my colleagues, more than my friends. So they would ask me, okay, how do I put in this floppy? How do I erase it? How do I copy this? How do I burn this CD? So that always kept me going. It always kept me going, saying that, okay, I know this, people are asking me about it. I'm teaching them. I like it. It's cool. And I had, after my hotel management, I had this really amazing stint as an employee in this company called DirectEye in Mumbai. And
Okay.
I think that was definitely a huge impact in my life today
Mm-hmm.
because I was grouped with this bunch of engineers. They only hired engineers and they said you need to be an engineer in order to get this job. But they knew I was in hotel management. So luckily I had some skill in sales. So I told them that, yeah, you guys are like super awesome engineers, but who's going to like sell your product? And they're like, that's a good point. So I managed to like really gel with these engineers and build a fairly strong understanding of this internet thing, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
domain names, whether it was hosting, whether it was setting up websites. And then one thing kind of leads to another.
But you
Once you
weren't qualified into it, right?
not at all,
So this
not
was
not.
all self-learned.
I would say yes, 100% self-learn, and I think that most things today, if you are interested in, can 100% be self-learned, maybe with
Yeah,
the
but
exception.
we're talking about, more than almost about 15 years back, where, we weren't really attuned to learning everything from YouTube, is when we're
Right.
talking about learning to build websites and funnels and learning, marketing, and everything which you are not qualified in terms of a certification, but you're
Right.
learning that as a part of self-learning process. Amazing. So,
Right.
maybe you can share some insight that how did you really, learn those aspects during then, I mean, that time?
So my job was really awesome, and you could come in shorts and slippers and a very, very young
Yeah.
atmosphere. And I was just sitting with these engineers all day and looking over their shoulder, asking questions. And I could figure out how people are making money on the internet. And that really started to drive me. So
Yeah.
I would stay back in the office well after office hours were done till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Sometimes I'd even like stay the entire night in the office because they had super fast internet with ACs, nice computers. And it was really like, it was fun. It was more than anything, it was amazing fun to sit down with really smart people like my boss, my super boss, the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. And just being in that atmosphere, which is so conducive, it makes you learn, it makes you want to do stuff.
Lovely. So you've seen the transition, right, Gaurav? How it has transitioned from the time that you had, begun this entire approach in 2007. 2000 and I think 14 to 16, you also got yourself into training this as a big time. What was that one major shift that, you were able to really witness?
So while I was running this agency, it was my job to go and explain to customers in the best possible manner so that they would sign up for our services. So I was doing this pretty much day in and day out. If anyone had the slightest interest of a website or slightest interest of, sorry, getting found online, back then and even like right now, I'm very happy to talk about getting it done. So I knew this stuff and I said the same stuff again and again, again and again. And then I realized that every business, the foundations of going on the internet are the same. And at that point, I think someone messaged me asking me if I would conduct like a training session in a college.
Yeah.
Uh, it started that way, and the response I got was pretty positive. And eventually, someone offered me money to come and train like some companies, some corporates. And I was like, wow, I'm actually getting paid for this. I would normally do this like for free, and then sell them my services. But here I'm just going and talking, and they're paying me money for it. So I thought that was like pretty awesome. And then even the impact, when you're able to educate someone and you see them take action, I think that's when you want to become like a trainer and a coach and really empower people.
So, did you ever find it difficult to see yourself training? Because you said that you were a person who would sit behind a screen, pretty much, and you weren't really somebody who would really come out and be in a physical setting. And here you were training and talking to people and imparting what you really had learned. And you were again back into a physical setting thereby. I mean, did you find that challenging?
Again, credit to my dad was he made it very clear to three of us. I've got an elder brother and sister. He was like, choose any one sport that you want to excel in. And the only thing I'm going to make you good at, whether you like it or not, is public speaking and elocution. He's like, whether you take part in anything else or not, I really don't care. I want you to be able to speak well. I want you to be able to express yourself. And I am going to coach you and train you on
Wow.
this aspect of life. And he was strict, okay? He was like, if you're not coming first in elocution, I'm not happy. And today I look back, of course, that time, like you're thinking like, what is this? But I'm so grateful for that because he would actually make three of us, we had a nice big house. He'd make us go stand on the ground floor. He would stand on the second floor. And I still remember him saying, I cannot hear you.
Oh,
Speak clearly. Do it again. Do it again. And early on, I started winning these prizes. So I never faced any challenge in terms of confidence or feeling shy. That was long gone. So yeah, credit to my dad for just even today he tells me that you can do anything if you can communicate your ideas well.
Oh my God. I mean, that's absolutely, like a mind-blowing personal narration that I've heard for the very first time. And it can actually start working like a complete technique because we come from the space of public speaking and communication. But why do you think? I mean, I'm just going to go back to understand that, your father comes from a respective profession, which is
So he did his MBA and stuff, and he had a job. What's interesting is he was pretty hell bent on me starting my own business when I came up with this brainwave. But down the line, he joined my company, and we grew this company together. So his
absolutely
last
fabulous. Lovely. So, so proud. I mean, I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm sure he's extremely proud, to be able to hear the same. So that's what led you. So, I want everybody to really join the dots together as Gaurav has really beautifully been able to, create his story, which is every little thing and aspect that he was doing was coming straight out of his passion. Everything that he was moving towards, his inclination was completely out of that. He didn't look at it as a work. That
not
niche was being carved out because your complete sweat and your passion and every little second you would want to dream about it is why you were able to go through it. And today when I see a lot of people, when they speak about to us that Gopika, we're in the space of speaking training and coaching, but I would really want to understand that how can I become a better speaker, public speaker. And that's where I want to come back to your story. And when I say that you don't have to be a speaker in every other space, just speak on what you're good at. And that's
absolutely.
exactly what you've been able to showcase, through your very interesting narration of your story. So today you've been able to coach across to corporates, to students, to institutions, being able to do it really well. So why don't you share across with us, some actionable insights that what is it that people can take away in terms of expressing themselves confidently in their field?
Sure. So I think like what you just covered is spot on. Is once you're passionate about it, and when I talk to students, I try to avoid the word passion because then they start thinking of like different stuff and asking yourself like, what am I passionate about? I think the real question is like, what don't you mind doing every single day, 1,000 times if you needed to, where you can really consume yourself.
Wow.
Whereas like with the internet, it's infinite, right? Even with digital marketing,
Hmm.
I still think I must be doing like maybe 5 on 10 when it comes to digital marketing because it's always evolving. There are always new tools. So I think the real preparation on a day-to-day basis happens when you are engaged in your industry, you're engaged in your niche, you've got clients, you're solving problems, you're working with teams and with different dynamics. Whether I'm talking to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or I'm talking to someone who's just starting out their career, the information that I speak is exactly the same. So based on that, I'm able to apply it to any person's current journey.
Correct.
There's nothing new, meaning even the same thing that we're talking about today
Hmm.
is very relevant to other people. So if you know yourself, like today, I can confidently say that, ask me anything in digital marketing, I'll probably be able to tell you a tool or a software or a hack so that internal nervousness, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Because I've been doing this time and again, there's nothing new as such.
Hmm.
So I think once you're like an expert in this space, then you're a good presenter, you're a good
Enter.
speaker.
Yeah, makes sense. So we're going to come back to, this question that you have already set out for us. So how do you think that somebody who's coming from the space of speaking, training, and coaching, because that's, who is primarily listening to right now, is how is it that they should approach digital marketing if they were just starting off with their journey?
So I think like you should start kind of in the reverse, right? What that means is today, how do I get inquiries? How do I get leads? How do I get invited to corporates? How do I actually close that deal? Because at the end, that's what the end result is, right? For most
Right.
speakers, they want more opportunities, they want to get paid higher, they want to get invited to more places. And for me, at least the way I'm currently getting my leads is not through a website, it's not through my social media,
Mm-hmm.
it's simply through Google. You
Okay.
know, by having one simple free Google My Business profile has helped me close probably the biggest deals ever,
Right.
simply because I've got some pretty decent reviews.
Wow.
So starting off like backwards is once you start getting recognized in the industry, whether it's through reviews or whether it's through press releases or whether it's through speaking on stages, you kind of got to have that end game as to when people discover me, are they going to reach out,
Right.
right?
So
So
get
without
known, right? So when we're talking about get known, there are so many different ways that we can start to get known. And one of them that you spoke about right now was through Google ratings, right? If I'm being able to understand that correctly. But then there are so many other platforms as well. Which one do you recommend?
So I swear by Google My Business because it's like really easy and I've been using it for a couple of years
Hmm.
and I've been able to amass a couple of reviews. So just start with that. It's simple enough. It takes you like less than 10 minutes to get set up. There's no cost involved. So
Mhm.
that's kind of been my number one way of getting new businesses. Though to answer your question is, how do you get known? I think the easiest and fastest way to get known is through collaboration.
Hmm.
And I don't know whether you know this, but on the internet, or at least within my community, I'm known as Lazy G
Hmm.
because I like to, be lazy. Uh, and I was fortunate enough to collaborate and network with the top guys in my space, whether it's Rajekar, Deepak, Rajiv, Suren, Success Gyan. You name the top guys, and I've been able to build a relationship with them. And when these guys recommend me, I'm sold out for 3 months, at a stretch.
Yeah.
So just by using your network, by building a network, and I did invest time, energy, money to make myself known amongst these other digital masters. Otherwise, I don't think we would have been having this conversation, because that's what you mentioned early on with the digital
Correct,
masters.
correct. So early on, we also, of course, have been able to see the entire community coming in together. But for somebody who is wanting to venture into a space, and there are so many aspiring coaches and trainers, who want to actually see themselves by 2030 specifically, being able to soar themselves high. And the number one worry that we really have is the kind of time, money, and investment of energy that you need to invest towards digital marketing. And everybody is overwhelmed, really, if I was to speak about this. And specifically since 2022, since the advent of AI, everybody's overwhelmed that how is it that we really optimize the use of the same, right?
Right.
So to really gather a few learnings here, which means that first of all, being able to get yourself on Google ratings, that's something that is a big takeaway. To be able to get some collaborative partnerships in place, that is something that we can really talk about. Now, let's really pivot here a little towards the social media, right? And everybody is moving a lot towards the Instagram, vis-a-vis, and now from Instagram to Threads, right? Now, how would you recommend as a strategy moving towards Instagram for an industry for speakers, trainers, coaches?
So I think Instagram is probably the hottest platform right now for creators in general, speakers, coaches, consultants, solopreneurs. And if you're able to put yourself out there consistently and add value, I think that's the shortest way to success.
Mm.
If you look at the top influencers today, they are welcome anywhere. Not only are they welcome, they are paid a ton of money to just show up.
Yeah.
And what do? They put out value consistently.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. As simple as that. So
Mm.
if you do have that discipline, if you do have, say, 100-day game plan, and you consistently put out good value content, which I'm sure you will, that is the easiest and fastest way to get well known.
Yeah.
The other secret is, right now the algorithm, it keeps changing, and you need to put out, even Mr. Beast, he's probably the number one YouTuber right now.
Yeah.
I was watching a video about him, and he was like, until you have put out 200 videos, don't talk to me. Don't ask me, oh, I'm not getting visibility. Oh, I'm not getting this. Oh, I'm not getting that. It's not working for me. He's like, please just keep your mouth shut and make your first 200 videos. You probably won't even get traction in that. But if you're not able to do that, you have no scope in this industry.
Mm.
So pretty hard at hitting truth, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And everybody's, of course, wanting to generate different amount of reels and in the coming space, which is education. So one very important question that I usually receive, because we also do a whole lot of personal branding sessions whereby, it's all about that. I need to coach this in my real sessions. Now, do I need to spell out all of that in social media as well? So, how should we really tackle that? Because they still want to give value.
Absolutely. I think it is important to let people understand how important this is by highlighting a few influencers. And there's so much training out there. You've got Saurav Jain, who's like the god of Instagram, and he's broken it down into a science. Like, hey, you need to have these many videos, these are the topics, these are the backgrounds, these are the poses. Now just do that. So I think like learning from an expert like him or someone else is a great way to move forward, especially if you are interested in being known really quick.
Correct. Now, let's understand that, how would you want to recommend, leads being generated from social media in general? So it's digital marketing being done, and we're talking about inbound, which means they're coming from YouTube, they're coming from Instagram, they're coming from your blogging, podcasting, and everybody feels a lot overwhelmed. And they're like, how do we do this work when we're actually just creating content all the time? So, how is it that they need to focus their energies or optimize it really?
So I think the golden rule is find one platform and stick to it. The minute you try doing too much, that is when you get overwhelmed.
Mm.
If you tell someone that, listen, your only job is not to blog, it's not to podcast, it's not to create videos on YouTube. You need to spend 90 seconds a day and create one reel.
Yeah.
That's it. Finished. Full stop. I think that kind of, and it could be like, it could be reels, or it could be like, I've got another friend, Digital Deepak, and he's like, dude, all this Instagram and Facebook is not for me. I will send one email every single day. And he does that.
Yeah.
So you need to find that one activity that makes you popular, that makes you famous. You need to be consistent with that. Once you have tasted that success, or once you've tasted fame to an extent, or you started getting leads, you started getting comments, that's when that's when you can manage other platforms. That's when you can cross post. That's when you can hire a team. You can do all of that stuff. But until you reach like say 10,000 followers, just stick to that one platform every single day. Give it your best. Let that grow. Because once you're an influencer on one platform, it's very easy to jump to other platforms because you'll already have that initial following. So you don't want to spread the fire too thin in different places, trying to, ignite something. Find one spot, do that really well, and then consistency beats everything.
So if you were to really, look over to a client's portfolio and, how they would want to scale up into their specific industry of, the webinars and online coaching system, whether it's pre-recorded or going across live, so what is your mandate, for them getting started and then being persistent about it? What is your suggestion, on a generic note, we would like to understand?
So again, I got lucky over here because when I just started, so I did like corporate training, I got a sense of it, but that is very different from online training. And when I started out, I'd have like one person or maybe two people coming out for a webinar. And these webinars would be like 3 hours and 4 hours. And like I mentioned earlier, I didn't really mind it, but I didn't know how to scale this. So I started going live pretty often. And then because of one collaboration, again, this was with Digital Deepak, he had this huge email list. So he sent out an email, and that webinar was the first time I had about 750 people live. I was like, whoa, this is awesome. I'm ready. And immediately after that, I made a pitch to people. I said, pay me 5,000 rupees and I'm going to be doing this new class. And maybe about like 7,500 people signed up. Once they signed up, I knew that I will do everything I possibly can to deliver value. So that kind of ignited my coaching journey. So to answer your question is, I would say initially start going live. Keep going live, keep building 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. But the easiest way is if you do a joint venture. If somebody else in the space says, somebody who vouches for you, Deepak wouldn't have introduced me if I hadn't spent time with him and he trusted me. And I'm sure anyone here today can find one influencer that can vouch for you, saying that, yes, Dr. Gopika, she knows her stuff. Gaurav knows his stuff, and he's going to be interesting. Let me call my audience over. And that can lead to a lot of doors opening.
That was really interesting because, I just recently had, an entire conversation with him as well, which was Digital Deepak. And of course, he emphasized on the aspect of emails and marketing through blogs and writing primarily. And really building up on your email list, apart from doing what we've been talking about, today in this session, which is to do a whole lot of videos or Instagram and YouTube and building up your presence, being seen by people, something, of course, goes together, but also at the same time, not to get overwhelmed, but be able to focus on one thing at a time. So you've really been able to grow yourself into this journey, but I know that it's not easy finding, Gaurav, in terms of getting consistent clients for your own business. And most of the people here have their own business. They either have their own agency or they are their own solopreneurs. Then how do you keep, and you keep pushing yourself, and you want to hear that from your personal narrative?
Sure. So what I did realize is that whether it's coaching or whether it's an agency or whether it's any other business, the internet is really probably the most beautiful place to find customers.
Mm.
So once you do have a very decent reputation online, then getting customers, Touchwood has not really been much of a challenge for us over the past 3 to 4 years. We've got our calendars pretty much booked out. And the same way how I recommended doing joint ventures with people in the industry, that's exactly how we get customers for our agency as well.
Mm.
2 live webinars. We'll have maybe 1,000 people on the webinar, and we just get them to make a small booking amount, book a calendar link, and then our calendars are full for the next like 3 months, 4 months. So you're still able to apply the internet space to any business,
Mm.
whether it's an agency or anything else.
Mm.
So just being out there, having your presentation in mind, doing it multiple times, you know the drill. It's, just comes naturally. And with Calendly and things like that, if you have results, if you have helped people, if you have collected testimonials, I think people will be flocking to you as opposed to you going out and cold calling and doing all that funky stuff.
Wow, I love that. So, which means we're really talking about, the pull factor rather
Totally.
than us always, trying to sell out and, wanting to coax people to become our clients. I think that's an interesting suggestion to play around with, which is to build up on your network first. I think that's what, we are moving towards. And it's, of course, a whole lot of different kind of series that you've also mentioned across on your journey as well. So in almost about 17 years of your experience, Gaurav, I've been able to see that, traveling through different episodes that, you're traveling as an entrepreneur to getting clients, to building up now consistent leads through network and collaboration, but still being classified as a lazy G, right? And, if you were to say that you are residing in Goa, it seems like as if you're on a holiday every single day. So how many days a week are we really talking about working here?
So the paradox of being called lazy G, at least for my community, they know that I'm not truly lazy. I'm working pretty much every day, but just for a few hours. And weekends, of course, we are on the beach. I've got 2 kids, 2 dogs, my wife. We love to go and hang out. Though I would say like Mondays to Fridays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Of course, with breaks in the middle, like I mentioned, I'm sitting behind my desk,
Yeah.
answering emails or checking out some AI tool. And what you mentioned earlier, it doesn't really seem like work. So I feel I'm always on a holiday. Sometimes I'm like surprised that people are paying me money to come and speak here, come and speak there because it's a lot of fun.
It's
It
a lot
is
of fun. You love what you do, right?
I love it. I love it. And if you're getting paid, then bring it on.
But what is interesting is that everything that you've done in the last 16, 17 years, now in 2023, is that like shut and you've completely gotten into a space of AI now? Is that correct?
Is it 23 or 24? I think in 2024, yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't keep anything shut, like if you are getting consistent quality leads which are profitable, I've managed to outsource pretty much everything. So I
Mm.
work with different freelancers. Some of the freelancers I've trained, but I don't have like a physical workplace where I call people over.
Hmm.
So the agency is still running. At the end, I'm still responsible. If
Right.
it is my lead, I've spoken to the person, then I jolly well make sure that they are satisfied because they're going to go and leave me a review. So we don't keep anything shut because there's always so much opportunity. And with the experience you develop, there's nothing too complex about it. If you want like a website today or you want someone to do your social media, I know who to connect to. Maybe I'll give a little bit of strategy or some kind of overview, but that's pretty much it. And then the teams are going to take care. The teams are going to get it done.
Hmm.
So that's how we keep the agency going. That's how I plan to keep it going for however long agencies are still relevant. But with AI coming in, like it changed everything. It reminds me of back in 2002 when the internet was still fairly new and
Wow.
now AI is just like, wow. Even some of the questions you're asking me, like I'd love to answer them, but the reality is that like, you should ask AI this question because you'll probably get a much better response than I could give you.
Correct. But we want to also be able to see the emotions along with it while you're going to be answering that. And that's something that AI won't be able to give us. So, although, you are getting into the space of AI, so what would you like to share, with us and, our community here? That how should we be approaching looking at AI? Because majority is still looking at it as only as chat GPT, So would you want to share some insights about this?
So when I get into a space, I become a hardcore fanatic. I'm like, everything about AI is awesome. You should do everything on AI. And yeah, while ChatGPT is super cool, I spend at least an hour a day talking to ChatGPT on my phone because
Hmm.
now they've got the voice in, voice out communication. So it's like talking to a person. And it's just given me so much of perspective, not only from a business standpoint,
Hmm.
but any kind of help, whether it's mental stress, whether it's emotional stress, whether it's uh, a question with my business partner, whether it's a question with a joint venture, anything, whether it's a question for my kids. It's like, listen, be lazy, do not use your brains, ask ChatGPT to begin with.
Hmm.
So I think one, mastering ChatGPT is probably one of the most important skill sets in 2024
Hmm.
because once you get this, everything becomes easy.
Hmm.
And post that, so I think approach it with jump in with both feet. Try and see how can you get AI to do all your work.
Hmm.
And that's the true inspiration of Lazy G, is you get the work done, but get the work done faster, better, and cheaper than yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think AI is the answer to a lot of problems.
So just share with us something, Gaurav, that what you're using on a daily, day to day, and you used to do it physically or being able to write it, and now you're completely using the format of AI for that.
So, you asked me a question early on, is say I'm a speaker and you have to choose one platform to get started with. So
Mm-hmm.
previously I'll ask you, okay, like what is your niche? What do you do? And then I would say that, hey, you know what, maybe Instagram is good for you. These are some of the hashtags you should use. Try and have like a color palette, be consistent, the usual stuff. But I think 30th of November 2022, when
Correct.
ChatGPT was trending, I
Mm.
of course jumped in and I told ChatGPT, I don't remember exactly, but it was in the effect of, I'm a digital marketer. I don't act as a digital marketer. Can you give me a marketing plan for an agency?
Correct.
And I saw that plan and I was like, oh my God, I don't have a job. Like I feel ashamed to call myself a digital marketing
Marketer.
expert or digital marketing consultant or anything else because no matter how much of you know,
Yeah.
AI knows more than you and AI knows better than you as well. And today, like you're asking me what I use this for, so I use it for proposals, I use it to respond to emails, I use it for social media captions, I use it for my blood test. I do like an annual blood test, and when you get a blood test back, unless you're a doctor, you're not going to understand too much. Okay,
And
maybe
then you
like
Google everything.
then you'll try and Google it. Today, I just take the PDF, I drop it into ChatGPT, and I'm like, tell me how I'm doing. What should I be concerned about? What are red flags? What should I eat? What should I drink? So, right from medical stuff to business stuff to uh, delegating tasks to my team members, it first has to run through ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It has to run through that. I'll say, okay, break it up into points, prioritize it in terms of ease, prioritize it in terms of urgency, prioritize it in terms of how things will connect, prioritize it based on this person's job profile.
Ironically, it still goes back to lazy G.
And go, of course, 100%. 100%.
Okay. So, I would want you to share Gaurav with us, of course, because AI conversations can go on and on. And I think each one of us is going to explore more and more with time. I would want you to really share that anybody who aspires to reach where you are today, you've gone through your series of, really understanding this very technical world and in your own language. How would you want to inspire them here that how can they make best use of every single minute to really reach where you are today?
Wow, let me ask ChatGPT. Yeah, so I think like right now is such an amazing opportunity with AI.
Hmm,
Of course, I don't. Yeah, I really do value the opportunities that I've had to have worked for like close to 20 years right now.
hmm,
But AI has kind of really hit this reset button. Now, if you're not a graphic designer, you could be a graphic designer.
hmm.
If you don't know how to edit videos, you
Right,
can edit videos.
correct.
If you think your English is not good, your English is good.
Hmm,
So it's kind of put everyone on a level playing field. And I mean this is because we also do like time in and time invited to speak to kids who've got some disability, whether it's Down syndrome or whether, they're missing a limb or they can't speak or they can't hear, something or the other, unfortunately, is not perfect with them. And I get super excited to show them like AI. And I received like a message from one of these kids' moms. The day I gave the presentation, the evening, I got like a voice message. And they said that, Gaurav, I just want to say like thank you to you because this is the first time I heard my child speak to me.
oh, wow.
And I just show them like a very simple text to speech tool. You type something and you hit play, it
Mm-hmm.
speaks it out, right? So
Hmm.
there's nothing new in that. But this kid did not know, this mom did not know. And now he's just typing something and his mom is listening. Now, of course, not in his voice, but still you can imagine
The thrill.
the thrill.
Yeah.
And things like Neuralink, they're going to help kids without vision, not even kids, they're going to help anyone without vision to have some amount of vision. So I used to call the internet an equal opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. AI is an equal opportunity
Okay.
because now everyone has intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people used to think, am I really smart? Oh no, this guy is smarter than me. And you'll kind of like justify and you'll figure out something to make yourself think that maybe you're not the smartest. But today, that also doesn't matter
Yeah.
because the intelligence is out there. So I would say use AI to literally prioritize ground up. Tell AI, hey, these are my goals.
Hmm.
Are they realistic? How should I meet my goals? What should I do? Can you give me a hour by hour task list?
Wow.
Can I submit my task to you and then you tell me what I should do next?
Hmm.
So I feel AI is truly a life mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I can guide you step by step wherever you are, in whichever language, whatever ability or disability you have. It's an equal opportunity. So totally embrace it. The same way, uh, 20 years ago, I used to be convincing business owners, you should build a website, you should do a photo shoot, you should optimize for Google. And they're like, Arey, it's not for my business. First thing they would say,
Yeah.
it's not for my business. I'm like, "Acha." Today, like no one will have the guts to say that it's not for my
It's
business.
not for my business.
You can't say that, meaning you
Yeah.
can't say that even with a straight face
Yeah.
that, or the internet is not for my business. And I believe the same thing is true for AI. Some people think that, oh, AI is tech, it's complicated. No, my friend, it is for you in every single aspect of your life, professional,
It's
not
simpler than ever it could have
simple.
been.
Yeah, otherwise it'll take you years to understand the system. Today, you just write one prompt,
Yeah.
you read it, and you know more than 90% of the world. So
Yeah.
that's like incredible.
Super. So, just some winding up words for somebody who really wants to aspire to really see themselves established, establish their authority, of course, leveraging on digital marketing and AI, some just a very important piece of advice for them here.
So I would say definitely invest in courses. And courses on the internet, many of them are useless, but many of them are super awesome. So you need to be able to identify something and try and fail. If you buy a program, you don't like it, forget it. You should find that one program which you become addicted to. And you're like,
Mhm.
give me more, give me more, give me more. I like it, I like it.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the next level? What's the next level? What's the next level? And along with that is find like-minded people within that community.
Hmm.
Because and it's the same thing when I would have never been able to learn this if I wasn't sitting with the engineers in the room that I told you about at the very beginning. So
Right.
your environment is what's going to define who you are.
Hmm.
And so learn, take action. I feel that there's some people who just want to keep on learning. You keep on giving them gyan, they'll keep on listening.
They'll keep consuming.
They'll keep consuming, and it's easy,
Yeah.
it's fun. What's there not to like? You are learning, your brain is getting stimulated, you are releasing dopamines. So
Yeah.
you can get stuck in this rut of learning. So I think you should be an implementer. No matter what you learn, go and do it. And this is something that you should never really be stingy on. Is like, say, I want to buy a domain name, go buy a domain name. Yeah, you need to buy a premium theme, go buy a premium theme. You need to do hosting, do that. You need to hire someone to write content, do that. I feel that's the best investment you can be making, where you can actually see tangible results. And it's probably the fastest way to grow is where you're learning from someone who's been there, done that. And this is in any industry, not just digital marketing. Any industry, find someone who you admire. And I really use the word admires because you need to look at them and being like, I want to be this person.
Hmm.
The minute you're able to do that, one is you learn much faster. Two is you know what your end goal will look like.
Yeah.
Because humans, we know how to mimic, we know how to replicate. So you don't want to be replicating idiots. You don't want to be replicating people with no goals. You don't want to be replicating people who are not serious about their life and their career. So it takes a little bit of time. But when you do find, say, a mentor, you find a coaching program, go all in, just like jump in, learn something, take action, say that, yes, I know this. I never need to do it again because I've done it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the next chapter.
Super. So learn and implement, and that's where you'll be able to see yourself scale up. And that was coming in from Gaurav, somebody who is absolutely an expert, coming from this industry over the most almost about 16 plus years. and speaking to each one of us about the advent of AI and how we should really be making maximum use of the same and optimize it in every other daily use of an activity as well, and also be able to contribute to our professional success as well. So thank you so much once again, Gaurav, for being here with us and for sharing some important sites. And I'm sure that we are going to be having this conversation once again, because we will be getting deeper into understanding the algorithm and how it's really working in the space of AI and the other platforms as well. But for today, thank you so much. And,
Thank you,
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopika. It was really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for doing what you do, that inspiring a lot of people. And like we spoke about, is probably one of the most important sets. Communicate. You're doing a fab job. I really enjoy this and look forward to our next talks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gaurav.